Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do my first impressions and first ride of the Ariel Rider X-Class. So it's a scrambler style of e-bike. Kind of looks like a moped or a cafe racer. Start off with the motor that's in the back here. It's a 750 watt Bafang nominal. Peak power is 1500. Also have the Shimano 7-speed Altus. The battery, which I don't have on it right now, is going to be over here. It's charging. There's some special battery charging instructions that after the first ride, which I was able to take yesterday, you need to charge it for 12 hours, no matter how much you use it. So definitely check that out. But the battery is a 48 volt, 16 amp hour, which translates to 768 watt hours. Be careful out there when you're looking at other e-bikes. They'll say they're 52 volt, and you think, oh wow, that's more powerful. It's actually not, because it's only like 13 amp hours. So read the manual definitely on that battery to know proper charging instructions and how to plug it in, and there's a little bit of a trick to it. It does have a lock here, so you can lock it. It does have a key that's provided, and so it's just off the bike right now being charged. There, I did notice at the top of the battery there is a USB charging cable, or a charging port. It'd just be very, very handy to have. The seat, you can see it's a very large seat. There's plenty of padding. It's pretty thick there. You can see a couple people sitting on it from yesterday, and there's some like crease marks right here. I'm sure over time that's going to wear. But the seat is okay. It's not the most comfortable seat, but it's a lot of padding right there. It's high density foam. Let's see. It's great for two people, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's start off with the controls are up here. When you're on the bike, it's easy to control. You got plus and minus. Let's go through your menu or to change your power assist. Power button's over here. Throttle is right here. Some people prefer a twist throttle, like, you know, on the right there. And I talked to some people and they said they're gonna probably swap it out, but I had no problem using this. I found it very convenient. 2 or 3 finger brake lever, and the brakes are hydraulic brakes by Tektro. They're 180 millimeter. So you got rear ones, and definitely you have front ones. Talking about shocks. So there's some shocks in the front here. They are not adjustable. And you also have shock for the rear. I did choose this bike because it had dual shocks, front and rear. The other bikes, scrambler style bikes that I'm looking at, didn't have that option. I wish they were adjustable. It'd be a lot better if they were adjustable, but for the price point, it's not too bad. The tires itself are 4-inch by 20-inch tires, and enough padding in there for, sorry, car going by, enough padding in there so if you were going over bumps, it does take up some of the shock with going over the cracks in the road, which I'll have in the video later. You'll see how much it bounces around, but it does pretty good. The fenders are here. Obviously, they're here. This one I think gives adequate coverage. It's only in this area. So you're gonna have probably some stuff splashing on the underside over there. In the back though, it's fully covered, which I really appreciate here. Let's see, lighting. So the lighting on this is 80 lux. Very cool retro style, motorcycle style headlight. But it is kind of cheap, and you know, it's not the most high quality that you can see here. The hardware on it isn't the best, but does put out a bright light, bright cool light. So it's more of a bluish tint than a yellowish tint. I'll show you in some video that I shot of it the other night. Pretty bright. I'm really impressed with it. And in the back you have a LED tail light and a brake light. So when you apply the brakes, they do come on, which is very, very cool. I appreciated that. And it's not battery operated like some of the other ones I saw. You can see on the back of the seat, they got their custom logo on there. This is very neat. Pegs, foot pegs. Fold up out of the way, pretty heavy duty. definitely a need. You do need to have these on here if you're going to have a second person. They need to put their feet somewhere, and it helps keep it away from the brakes. All right, pedals. They are aluminum, looks like, with reflectors on them. Also, there's some reflectors on the spokes. It'd be neat if they had some reflective material on the rim, but the color matching rims are an eye turner. They really are. A lot of people, I had so many looks the other day along the beach when I was rolling around on this thing. A lot of people stop and ask what it is, or if it was a real moped since I'm on the bike lane, or if this was a electric bike. Everyone was kind of impressed. They've not seen anything like this in the area, and I live in Seattle where there's a lot of bikes. Kickstand. So the kickstand, the pedal will come around and it's gonna hit that. Not the best place for the kickstand. I see other bike companies mount it back here. I think the problem with that on this bike is this is the center of gravity right here. This is a heavy bike. This bike, the website says 60 pounds. I'm gonna guess it's closer to 75. I'm not quite sure why the difference in numbers, but when this was shipped to me, the entire box with the cardboard and the charger that's in there weighs about 103 pounds. And the box is big, so have a place to haul it. This bike is going to be heavy, heavy duty bike rack, even a motorcycle rack on the back of a vehicle if you need to take it anywhere. But so I think that's why the kickstand is there. It's better even it out. If you had it there, I can see the weight of the battery in the front, and this whole assembly would probably be too much for the rear. Let's take a look at the chain. It does not have a chain guard across here, which would be convenient if it did. I'm sure it would be banging and clanking around quite a bit if you're going over a lot of bumps, you know, like this type of thing. But it does have this chain guard on here. It's kind of nice, and you can't really see it from this side, and protects your jeans or your pants from getting sucked up in there. Let's see, this is actually an addition. This is part of my folding bike lock that I have. That's the carrying cage for it. And then I have another bike lock that I tucked up underneath here. This one is a alarm that attaches to it's a motion alarm or a vibration alarm that's going to attach to the rotors. It's a device that goes onto here, and a pin goes through it, and arms. And as soon as anyone moves the bike, it starts screaming at them. I figure I'm going to have two forms of protection for the bike. I'm not going to have this thing stolen around here. Now the handlebars are low. Since it's more of a cafe style racer, you're going to be leaning forward quite a bit on this bike. They are adjustable, so you can see right there, you can make some adjustments with raising this up like this, and then when you do that, then this one is going to have to also rotate this way or this way. So you have two adjustments. I'm guessing they could probably come up about this much more. I like them a little lower here. It's just the style. And when this thing gets going and you don't need to pedal, because you could do full throttle assist on this, I like to crouch down, kick my feet, put them back on the foot pegs, and kind of lean over the front. Like if I had a gas tank there, I'd be leaning over the gas tank. And you sit your butt as far back as you can and just lean forward at, you know, kind of like this angle like this, instead of kind of sitting up. One thing about where this brake is situated, this brake light back here is situated, is you go to pick up the back end of this thing, you're gonna put your hand underneath here. Just make sure you're not putting any type of pressure when you're picking it up on here. I can see the weld possibly in there having some issues if you're putting some external forces on there. So I usually kind of reach around to the side, pick it up from underneath here instead of in the back, so over here. So the ride height on this is one of the things. It says that it's good for, I believe the website says riders 5'3" and up. I am 6 foot, and when I straddle this, my tippy toes, my inseam is about 34, but since there's so much padding in there, I'm on my tippy toes almost when I rest my butt on the seat. So if anyone think that they're going to have issues with height, you might want to look for another bike. I mean, you could ride the bike. It's just when I'm at a stoplight or something, I want to be able to put both my feet down. And I find when I was doing that, I was having to lean to the left or to the right to just, keep the bike up like you would, normally do with any bicycle or motorcycle. It does have a bell that comes with it. kind of weak, kind of cheap. Definitely something I'm going to be replacing. Possibly look at a horn. I don't know if there's a battery operated horn out there probably, or even a USB style horn. So they do have a sticker on here stating that is a class 2 e-bike. So if you did have any problems with the law enforcement for exceeding the speed, it does show that it's a class 2. It is limited to 20 miles an hour with the max motor assisted speed. And I was able to reach that yesterday quite easily. So yesterday was nice and sunny out. I rode 20 miles. Today, not so sunny out, not so nice out here in Seattle. So what I decided to do is shoot the video today about my impressions of yesterday's ride. Like I said, I went 20 miles yesterday, and I put this bike through its paces. I went up some major hills. The hill alone was about a mile long, and this thing just tore it up. I was really, really impressed. I've been on that hill without power assisted, and I pretty much had to stop my bike halfway up the hill and push it up the rest of the way. I was out of shape, but with this thing, it did it effortlessly. I also had someone as a passenger for about 4 or 5 miles yesterday, and this bike is barely noticeable. Super impressed with that, and that's where the foot pegs are definitely needed, and that extra large seat is going to be needed for that. I had a number of runs that was full throttle, only throttle, no pedaling, and I was just, once again, I can't say how impressed I was with the speed of this bike. So if I'm by myself in level 1 mode, I get about 6 miles per hour. This is on flat land, and mind you, I weigh about, well, since the whole COVID, I'm taking on the COVID-15. I weigh about 180 right now. So with Power Assist 1, I got about 6 miles an hour, and then Power Assist 2, it's gonna be about 12 to 15 miles an hour, and in Power Assist level 3, I was maxing out, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, at 20 miles an hour. And definitely 4, level 4, I was screaming, and actually 5, I never got to level 5 yesterday. There was no need for me to get into that. I didn't feel, for me, this is the first time riding an e-bike was yesterday, and I absolutely loved it. So getting above 25 miles an hour was like, okay, this is seriously fast. Since this is a scrambler style, cafe racer style, and it's got that big seat on there, what that does is actually you can't put any bags on the side. Well, you might be able to find some that come off of there, but there's no rear rack possibility right now, and on the front there's no possibility to put on a rack. Ariel Rider might come out with something where you could remove the headlights here and maybe put a rack on there. So the storage capabilities for this bike is not a whole lot. I did have the bike lock, like I said, mounted underneath here, and on top I was able to put a Bluetooth speaker. So in the riding video, you're going to see the Bluetooth speaker strapped in right here. Sure, you could put a phone holder up here or something else, and that's where that USB charging is going to come in handy right there. So there's actually 2 USB chargings on this bike. There's the one on the controller, and the other one is going to be over here. If you had the battery installed, it's right up top here. So it's actually great that you could power 2 devices. That's pretty well thought out, since we're so technology dependent nowadays. You're going to want to charge your devices, and especially if you're on a 20-mile bike ride like I was yesterday. Now, going downhill on this bike, since this is a heavier bike, it does get going pretty good. I really broke in those brakes yesterday. I'm sure they're conditioned after all the stopping I was doing. Definitely did not want to do too fast on some of these hills. I don't want this bike getting away from me, but I really did feel that it was solid. It didn't get squirrely at any point. Maybe that has to do with the really big tires on it and the suspension, but it was solid. So a little bit more about having a second person on the back. I did have to sit all the way forward up here, and then that puts the person right about here. They could hold on underneath here on either side. This makes a nice little hand grip, or they can, you know, wrap their arms around you or put them on the shoulder. There's a couple times they were able to take the hands off. It was steady enough that they felt comfortable. They were also operating the GoPro for some of the video that you're seeing now. The shocks really came in handy with having 2 people on there, and I am sure I went over the max limit for weight for this bike, and I don't even remember seeing anything on the website. But I'm sure we were well over 300 pounds on the bike, and I only noticed a very minimal decrease in speed with that person on there. I was able to get to at level 2, going down the bike path on Power Assist level 2, I was able to easily get 12 miles an hour, which is plenty fast for a bike path, along with all the people that are there. We just had a blast just going up and down, and it was only a level 2. I was super impressed with it. So battery life on this, let's talk battery life. It says that can do 45 to 65 miles per charge. Yesterday I went 20 miles. Like I said, I was all over the place as far as just going up hills, down hills, full throttle with no pedal assist with 2 people on board, and I only burnt through about 50% of the battery. So that's about right. I'd be impressed if I got more than 45 on a charge, and I have no questions whether that's going to be able to happen or not. So I am sitting at the very front of the seat here, as you can see, and this is where my knees will hit. I had to be in this position if I'm going to have someone on the back, but normally what I would do is I would sit all the way back to here. You can see I have a lot more knee space. That's how much the seat would be sticking out. So I'm going to assume that the controller is going to be inside this little box area that's in between the rear wheel and the battery. It's going to be inside this area right here. I'm hoping that it's going to be sealed waterproof wise, since I do live in an area that experiences lots of rain. This has a cadence sensor, not a torque sensor, so as soon as you start pedaling, the motor kicks in about 1.5 seconds after you start pedaling. All right, let's talk about quality of the build here. So since, like I said, I've not had any other e-bikes besides this one, but I'm looking at the welds. They all look pretty solid. It's pretty heavy duty, this whole entire assembly. The screws and the hardware that they use is good quality. They do give you some extra screws in case you lose it or that something falls out, but definitely after you build this, you want to make sure that you tighten everything down. Making sure it's secure, check all your cables and everything is zip tied up out of the way. One thing I didn't like is this cable that's coming out right here, this whole assembly. I kind of wish they had something to cover this up. I don't want to get snagged on something or just dirt and water over time. Other than that, everything looks, there's some nice foam that they put on here, so that's when you turn your handlebars, they're going to possibly hit into the frame. The routing on this could have been cleaned up a little better for all these cables that are here. And they're just kind of, in the way, but when you have so many electronics and hydraulic lines, also on the brakes, it does have a motor inhibitor. So as soon as you pull either one of the brakes, it does kill the motor, or it doesn't kill the motor, it just turns it off. So it's not still providing power. Fenders, plastic, kind of cheap, makes them lightweight, but they could have been done a little better. I already talked about the light. It looks cool. It's pretty bright. The quality of it, it's all plastic. Well, this is aluminum in the back, but it's really thin. I would like to have them a little higher quality, would have been better. My overall impression of the bike is good. I really like the customer service so far with Ariel Rider. I know a few people are having some problems getting their first batch in, but we had the whole coronavirus, and anytime there's a first production run, there's some growing pains with that. The bike is beautiful. It was definitely a head turner. People are constantly stopping you, asking you what you're riding. They want to make sure that's an e-bike. It looks really cool, and that's one of the reasons why I bought it. Plus the things that I read on the website looked pretty solid. We'll see how the reliability does. Not dealt with Ariel Rider before, or I don't know anyone that has, but they don't have the name backing them as some of the other power bike, e-bike companies around the area. But so far I'm impressed. The ride was beautiful, really enjoyed it, not just the scenery, but what I experienced was just great as far as the speed, the maneuverability, the braking was good. So overall, I'm impressed. So once again, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and like and get your notifications. If you are interested in this bike or any of the Ariel Rider bikes, please take a look at the description. Use my affiliate code and go to the website. Help support me so I could do more of these videos. And if you like it, yeah, tell your friends, leave a comment if I left something out. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. Please go ahead and write me something. Thank you very much, and enjoy the ride.